into Scoop City. James Palmer, Dianna Russini with you, the GOAT of the Athletic, the NFL Senior Insider.
I think you're going to say the GOAT of the Combine.
Okay, ready? Take two. Welcome into Scoop City. James Palmer, Dianna Russini with you, the GOAT of the Combine. Here she is, but I think we all know that we're playing for second best at the Combine since we're both so tight with the one, the only, the legend, Michael Silver, who is really pretty much the legend of the Combine.
Yeah, he pretty much holds court in every bar and restaurant. And even if you want to avoid him, you can't. He will hunt you down and scream and find you. And that's football people, not even us. It's he's chatting with everyone. But that's what's so cool about the Combine is you take the elevator down. As soon as I got here, took the elevator. First person I see, Mike McDonald.
There he is.
Well, Super Bowl champ. This is a champion elevator.
100%. Super Bowl winning elevator for you two.
And then even just, going to get coffee, going to grab a quick bite to eat. You just see people constantly. So this is it's awesome. Love the Combine.
It's the best. It's the only time of the year where everybody is in one spot. And the other part that I really do love, and I want to say this really quickly, how much do you enjoy seeing coaches that used to coach together and are now in different teams when they get a chance to hang out? Like, this is the one opportunity where they're like, you see guys like they're having a beer together because like they spent every waking moment together on a staff, and now they're on different staffs, and they love getting back together.
Can we first address the fact that everyone's here in person and you and I are here in person together?
Go.
This is bizarre.
Yes.
But I'm so glad that we're doing this. But yeah, I do like watching. It's not a soap opera. No one's dramatic. No one doesn't like each other. But it also gets taking used to seeing coaches that we've covered that have been with teams for so long, and then they're in a different color, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Like I saw Mike McCarthy the first night I went out for dinner. And
well, that's a jarring one.
I'm just confused. I'm like, well, wait, Packer? No, Cowboy? No, Steelers. And just getting used to seeing them in those colors. There's tons of great people watching, and some of those former coaches hanging out with sometimes they hang out together too, which is funny.
Yes,
because they're friends. They know each other.
Very tight. They've spent hours and hours together putting up game plans, and now they're preparing to face off against each other, and that's the fun part. And the other part where we're talking about and describing is all of these different locations. We're having conversations with people. Diana's doing her scooping all over the place, is one of the best in the business. We knew Maxx Crosby was going to be a major storyline this entire week.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew coming to Indianapolis this was going to be talked about.
Because it started the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Right? It kind of started to get some steam because some reporting came out, some stuff we did. And now we're at a point where agents are meeting with teams. Teams are seeing teams, and conversations start happening. And the sense I'm getting on Maxx Crosby right now is I don't think anything's changed in terms of, I know John Spytek, the general manager, said that he foresees Maxx Crosby being on the roster. I think he has to say that. I think he should say that, right? What
are you going to say? Like, he's going to go up and all these guys speak at the podium, right? And you're right. You're exactly right. He's going to stand up there and go, yeah, I mean, we're taking calls on Max. All options are on the table for the face of your franchise.
Yeah, you don't do that.
You don't do that.
You don't want to do it. And it is interesting to watch how different organizations are navigating the freezing on players that are possibly going to be traded and how they want to address it. But the Raiders have chosen to support their star player because Max is listening. So Max, he's going to want to hear his general manager want him back. I think it's going to come down to what Max wants. And I can tell you the sense here is that the teams are talking to his agent. They're going to hopefully do that when they legally can to get an idea of where Max wants to play. Yeah. So I think the Raiders want to bring him back, of course. But I think they also understand that if Max doesn't want to be there, then they may have to move him.
That's the interesting part. I had a chance to sit down with John Spytek yesterday. Okay. And it was after he had spoken on the podium, and he had said everything. And I said, so you are very clear that you would like to bring Maxx Crosby back and have him there. And he said, yeah, we're in the business of keeping elite players, and he's an elite player. I go, has Max said to you he wants to come back? He said, well, we're going to keep some of the stuff in-house, and we're not going to talk about this at length. And so I do think that's a little bit telling, because I do think we're not completely out of it, right?
Exactly. Like,
we're
until Max comes out publicly and says, I'm a Raider forever, which we've seen him do. Just knowing how that ended the season and how disappointed, frustrated, and angry he appeared. Unless he's really taken a lot of time away and recouping here and maybe cooler heads prevail. But I don't know. Maxx Crosby comes to me. He's the type of person. If he's going to make a decision, I bet you he sticks with it.
And that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I'm interested though in where he would land if they do move him.
You have any thoughts?
Well, I think when you look around the league at teams that would be interested in him. Are they going to be able to afford him, right? Because it's going to be a Micah Parsons trade package, I believe.
Okay.
I think it's going to be close to that.
And I can see the comps to it. Micah's a little younger, but I would say that Maxx checks every single box.
Yes.
No slight to Micah, but in some of those other intangibles, Maxx checks further than Micah, right? So maybe it is kind of a very similar comp.
Yeah. The team... Well, I feel like there's teams that are going to be interested, but then there's teams that I want them to call the Raiders.
Oh yeah, let's go.
The team I want the Ravens.
Oh, they do need a pass rusher.
Doesn't that just sound good?
If you just no, it sounds good, but it also looks good.
Yeah.
Maxx Crosby in a Ravens uniform.
Yeah.
It kind of fits, the black and purple, Okay, all right.
So yeah, we'll see how this. After this week, I think we're gonna know a lot more where things stand because people will start talking a little bit more about these meetings and how they're leaving Indianapolis feeling about Maxx Crosby. But for now, I still think this is going to be something that we're going to have to monitor. I don't think it's dead.
Yeah, no, it's not dead. It's not only mostly dead. Princess Bride. How about real quick? I have another team.
Oh,
I ran into some people, and they said I wouldn't rule out the Cowboys.
I like the Cowboys one too. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're someone who cares about your legacy and you want to win and you want to be part of a team that is trying to win, according to Jerry Jones, I just feel like he says that all the time.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a second or a third either. That's an issue in this draft. But they got 2 1s. They got, you know what I mean? It was an interesting thing mentioned to me by somebody that I trust pretty well.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a good one.
What about a city that's near and dear to our hearts, Dianna Russini, the birthplace of our nation, the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown, this is another hot button conversation here. Will he be a Philadelphia Eagle in 2026? Where is that kind of leaning right now? I feel like we're a minute away from it.
Yeah, so in just the way Maxx Crosby's agents and teams are talking about that's the same thing that's happening here. So Jimmy Sexton, his rep, is meeting with different teams to just get a feel for who's interested, what this would look like. I think there's been a lot of conversations that have been happening over the last few weeks. Philly wants to keep him. They've come out and said that. I think when we talk about how teams are navigating it, how he navigated by being you don't lose a great player like that to improve, right? Which tells me that they want to bring him. But
Sirianni told me that yesterday. We sat down yesterday.
But my thought on this, though, and I don't know if you agree with me. I think it's okay to say, look, he got us to he helped us get to 2 Super Bowls. We won 1 with him. This thing just isn't working. It may be okay to just go in different directions.
It may be okay to not be okay.
And it doesn't have to be awful, though. Look, see, I don't think it needs to be dramatic. I don't think it needs to be, where Philly fans, boo him every time they see him again. Or AJ, goes on some podcast one day and says he hates Philly. I don't think it has to be like that. I think it can be, a player that loves the game, who loved his time and loves his time in Philadelphia, get to a point and just be like, what, maybe somewhere else is better for me.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be something we're really going to find out over the next few days.
And the funny part is, I hope it goes that way. This is not funny, but I hope it goes that way because he's done something in Philadelphia that no receiver has really ever done. He's got, 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons? He is exactly what Philly fans, and you and I know this so well, were starving for forever. And he filled that. And he did. And he played great. I am curious about the other side of it because I had been hearing here this week, do you know who is awesome and we haven't fully unlocked yet? Devontae Smith.
He is. I'm sorry. I threw my hands in the air for those listening. Because when I watch Eagles games, I'm always yelling. He's so good.
He's so good. I talked to Sirianni yesterday. We were sitting down doing an interview, and he goes, and I mentioned this to him, and he goes, "Bro, I don't think there's anything he can't do on a football field." That's what Nick told me.
Here's the thing. I trust that Howie can find a receiver in this upcoming draft.
It's loaded.
Look, it's not going to be A.J. Brown. I get it. But I think they'll be all right. Like, I don't think it's going to be so awful if they do decide to part ways.
Yeah.
I think they're better with him, but I just think there's so much transition going on right now. And the way they ended the season, I just have a hard time imagining that really working in a healthy way.
Yeah, great point. Okay, what about the old Kirk Cousins? This is a quarterback-driven league, Diana. What an interesting offseason we have for, like, quarterback free agents, possible trades, whether it's Tua or Kyler. Like, if you're looking for a quarterback right now, I think you're in such a weird position because the options are so kind of all over the place. What is next for Kirk Cousins?
Well, I think everyone automatically thinks Minnesota because there was a time where we thought he was going to stay there instead of going to Atlanta, right? And the money was not what he was looking for. Which, by the way, it feels like 2014 right now, like talking about Kirk Cousins again being a free agent, or not even a free agent, being back as the conversation of the offseason. And I feel like he's just always up again. And so he's always has an opportunity. By the way, I was a little surprised that Atlanta released him. And when I say surprised, because I was told that there was maybe a thought that Atlanta would keep him.
Even if they release him, it's not ruled out that he can't return.
That's true. He could.
True.
But,
I get what you're saying.
I just think that there's going to be teams that have a lot of needs at quarterback. But Minnesota, to me, it makes sense on paper.
Okay.
But I just don't see it happening. I don't. I think they really want to develop JJ. I think they really want to get JJ going. And I learned that actually this week more than ever.
That doesn't mean they don't add to the room and still do that, right?
Yes.
It could be a different player. It could be.
It could just be a different. I mean, look. Did you see Kirk on TV?
By the way,
and I say that because
I don't like when these guys come in and they're like so good immediately, and I'm like, there's only a certain number of jobs out there, guys. Stop stealing them, Kirk. You're in the Hall of Fame of contracts. We don't need you to make any more money doing anything else.
I watched 15 seconds of him when he started to talk, and in 15 seconds if someone is good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's exactly what you guys were thinking when you were watching James and I when this show started. Like, wow, these
100%.
two.
We know they're good.
So good.
No room for you here, Kirk.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we'll see what happens. It does make me very interested in Atlanta and Penix and how that's going to fare and how Kevin Stefanski is going to feel about him and develop him and get him playing.
Because he was interested in Kirk when he was in Cleveland and possibly bringing him there. So we know that he likes him. Obviously, they have a previous relationship. If maybe Kirk's options are limited, can Stefanski say, hey, Mike's not going to be back till maybe X. Can we have you roll in here to start? You're playing well. You can keep playing well. Like, I don't know if I'd rule it out. I could see Joe Flacco being that guy for Kevin Stefanski, in all honesty, in Atlanta for a few, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a previous. So
Which Joe told me at the Super Bowl he's playing. I'm like, wait, really? I'm like, you're not done?
How do you say it?
I'm trying to remember how. I think I said, you're coming back, right? He goes, yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah. We had a great conversation about eating alone. We revisited his.
I enjoy it.
So I told him that 5 years ago, I would not have understood it, but I get it now. And I've been doing it more since Joe said it and made it okay to eat alone.
Wow.
As a parent and not be judged.
He's like a Maharishi. He's like changed lives with this press conference he did about eating alone.
I know. He told me that's like the most feedback he's ever had on anything he's ever done. He's like, more people talk to me about that. I'm like, really? Not all your kids and the Jersey Shore? And then we, of course, talked about the Jersey Shore for like an hour.
Yeah, let's talk about Delaware. Any other nuggets that you've gotten during your time here as you've been working sources like crazy?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just it's brewing. It's not fully cooked just yet.
Yeah, like it might start to boil right now. We got no bubbles.
Yeah.
It's heating up. Yep.
I do think next week is going to get saucy. I think there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out from Indy, which it usually does. The Trent Williams thing's interesting.
Yes.
I can't believe we're going back here again. I have a hard time imagining San Francisco not bringing Trent Williams back and giving him a deal.
He still was awesome.
But, his agent running around letting everyone know, Trent may be available.
That is the hard part about this week, though, right? Because, you want to have these conversations, and this is like a little inside baseball for everybody listening and watching that Diane and I always find out in these weeks is, you want to have the conversation as a team about a player that you might be interested in with their representation in terms of free agency or whatever. But you don't want to throw out a number, because then that guy can go around the combine, turn around and tell everybody your number.
Yep.
And use it. So, like, it's this song and dance at the combine where you reveal interest, but you don't want to show too much, right? Like, and that's why Diana's saying, like, right after the combine is when it starts to then, because the conversation started, but you got to be a little cautious as a team about numbers and things like that.
Things are flying around right now, and it'll all settle, and then we get movement, and then we got free agency right around the corner. So,
is anybody else going to get tagged? That's March 3rd. That's right around the corner here.
Not sure right now. No. I almost said a name, but I'm like, I don't want to get bit in the butt.
I'll say Diana was almost like Brees Hall, but she didn't really want to say it.
Was coming out. No, well, we got to keep an eye on it.
It's one to monitor right there up until March 3rd.
That's a good way to put it. It's one to monitor. So.
Yes, certainly. All right, you're the best. We're going to be moving on. I believe Charlotte Carroll's going to be joining the show coming up. You're a big fan, huh? Giants coverage? Yeah, we got to talk some Giants here. A lot going on. John Harbaugh coming up next on Scoop City. Welcome back to Scoop City. James Palmer, Charlotte Carroll joining me as we're going to talk a little Giants here. Right? I mean, this is John Harbaugh, one team, 18 years, rolling in. Him, Eric DeCosta, here we go. My man, Chad Steele, head PR, monster. You know about Chad Steele, right? You know the history of our boy Chad?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's in every single Super Bowl picture on the field with the winning quarterback. Chad is enormous. He's super tall, well put together gentleman, great guy, and he is always the one escorting on the field the winning quarterback when the field is insane and getting swarmed. And every year you could go through and go, there's Chad, there's Chad, there's Chad. Well, guess what? It used to be there's Chad escorting John Harbaugh to the podium, but not anymore. It is the New York Football Giants. What is the vibe kind of around this combine that the Giants have been cycling through head coaches over the years, and now you have somebody that they do believe has maybe the ability to be there for the rest of his career?
Yeah, it's been a lot of excitement among Giants fans, just the possibility that this could happen, and then it did. And the reality is starting to sink in. He's been on the job for 30 days. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of, okay, what does a John Harbaugh team look like? And what does that mean infrastructurally? So this combine is all about kind of sorting out the details of that. We'll see it in play, the relationship between his GM, Joe Shane, who's sticking around and remaining, and then this hire of Donna Ponte as a senior VP is very exciting. So, you know, that was the big talking point this week.
Let's get kind of into that, because what we're trying to do in the early portion of this always, Charlie, is like, okay, what's going to be our structure? How is the, for lack of a better word, power going to be distributed at the top? And then how are we going to work together to mold into the culture and type of players we're looking for at things like the combine and free agency? It was a bit of a
trying to find the right word for that.
Like it was a major rocky talking point about, you know, John Harbaugh wants that power. He's always had it. He didn't think my understanding was he thought if he didn't have it, it'd be a step back. How has Joe Shane, who played a massive role in hiring John Harbaugh, fit into this role that he's in terms of the structure and power?
No, it's a great question. I mean, that was a huge holdup in the negotiations. I mean, Harbaugh wanted to report to John Mara, co-owner, and so that was a big deal. They got that done, and now it's the reality of the aftermath. I think the quote of the combine is Joe Shane saying, I'm still the GM and I'm still the general manager of this team. So you've got that ringing through, but you've got Harbaugh, who so many people are reporting to. Donna Ponte is reporting to him. I believe other departments as well. Everyone's kind of reporting to him. So what does it actually look like, and who's making the decisions, and how that's going to play out come draft? You know, the word is collaborative. John Harbaugh didn't want to use, doesn't want silos. He wants everything integrated. So they're kind of figuring it out as they go. And I think the real test will be when they actually get to the draft and, you know, they have that first maybe fight over a player. And after learning each other's dynamics just over the course of a month or two, are they able to kind of resolve it? And probably John Harbaugh gets the final say in that regard, even though they want to come to a decision together.
Man, I loved the comment, by the way. And you know what I don't really like is that all these things might be reporting to John Harbaugh, but to my understanding, I believe Joe was in charge of chartering a plane during this blizzard to get a number of people to the combine. I'm like, shouldn't you be evaluating players, Joe Shane? Shouldn't you be in meetings with these people? And he's on the phone trying to figure out how to get all of his people to the combine in terms of flights. Like, that's everything a GM does. I mean, there are more hats worn by a general manager in buildings than any other job, I think, on the planet. And so that's the interesting spot that Joe Schoen is in. You mentioned draft, and you mentioned players. They had the number 5 overall pick. Being a Buckeye right here, Carnell Tate has come up quite a bit, a running mate to Malik Neighbors. We'll get to Neighbors in a moment. Where do you kind of see, reading the tea leaves and what's been said by Harbaugh and Joe Schoen, where they want to maybe go with that number 5 pick?
Yeah, I think it's still early. They're figuring it out. They're watching lots of tape. The process, is, especially for Joe, who's typically at the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, a little bit more delayed. He said he's catching up. I think he said he's crushing it as he's catching up. Take
awesome.
that how you will.
Yeah.
But in terms of, playing catch up to that, it's what do, the best player look like, and will they even trade back? Obviously, he's open to that. Joe's always been very open that, it's the job of the GM to be open to trading back, making deals, all of that. So I think we'll see. I know in our mock drafts, I've gone with a safety, Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs?
Yes.
Oh, ho, ho.
Another Buckeye right there.
That's right. There's plenty of them in the first round. Sure, there's plenty of them in the first round. What's the take on, do you think people in New York in that building, it's your mock draft, so it's your pick. Mm-hmm. Would they be comfortable with a safety that high? I know the position is one thing that people always kind of look at. I think if you're a great player, you're a great player. There's teams that I've talked to already this week that have him as their number 1 player on their board.
Yeah, I don't know where he is on the Giants board per se, or like where he's kind of floated up, but just talking to Dane Brugler, our athletic draft expert, he's, this best safety in years, and just like that kind of talent, especially with a coach who's not been afraid to go after a safety in previous drafts. We saw that in Baltimore.
Great point.
With John Harbaugh. Just the ability to do that, and they've got a defensive coordinator in Denard Wilson who is works with secondary. That's a specialty in his previous life. So I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not predicting anything like I'm in the know.
For sure.
But, maybe shake things up.
I like it, honestly. It was funny when they in Baltimore picked Kyle Hamilton. I remember people going like, I don't know, man, the guy's not fast enough. I'm not sure you should be taking him at, 14 or something like that?
11 or 14.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. And it was like, no. Football players make plays, and Caleb Downs makes plays for sure. And I like, the guy's good D-line already, get some help in the secondary. I like where your head's at. Would you rule out them adding a running mate for Malik Neighbors in some capacity? No. And could that be Wan'Dale Robinson?
You cannot ignore the wide receiver component, and especially with where Malik Neighbors at. He's recovering from a torn ACL. And
where is he at in this recovery? Do you know?
Making good progress. Okay. I think Joe, the quote was, feels good about his ability to be back in time for training camp. We'll see if that actually happens. The meniscus adds a different element, a little bit longer. We talked to Malik Neighbors at the end of the season. He was going to listen to his body, see where that goes. So, you don't know, but with that caliber of a player, you need someone next to him, especially if you can get like a dynamic wide receiver. With a rookie quarterback, Jaxson Dart needs weapons, and he needs help.
I think that's a great point, because part of 26, we all believe Jaxson Dart is the guy. I think John Harbaugh did plenty of work right in the process. I remember reading your reporting on that, and that he played a role in going there. But you also want to make him in a spot to where he has the greatest chance to succeed, and that's giving him weapons.
Help.
It's giving him help. You know what I mean? And another part of that help would be Cam Scadaboo coming out of the backfield, who my buddy MJD, I'm not sure if it's like an official crush, but I think it's a pretty firm crush that he has on Cam Scadaboo as his favorite back in the league. I don't know who doesn't.
The style of running back that he is.
Come on.
Just crazy, insane fun.
Yeah. Where is he at in terms of his recovery? We're going to be just back and rolling by camp, or what's the deal with Cam?
He's hopeful. My beat partner Dan Duggan spoke to him just ahead of the Super Bowl.
Okay.
He's making progress. I think he was starting to run, if I remember correctly. He's looking to be back for the spring program.
Okay.
So we'll see if that actually pans out. He was around the program towards the end of the season, looking good with his teammates, ready to get back out there. I don't know what that kid knows beyond football. So, and I mean that in the best way of like, what is he doing if he's not playing football? He just wants to be out there with his teammates.
He's got to be out there, and he just changes the entire landscape of practices. I remember when we had, Mac, we had Theo Johnson on the show, and he was just like, He essentially Cam runs practice. Like, you hear him from the parking lot. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, it's what he does. And so, yeah, I think Harbaugh's going to love that aspect of him, and that's going to bring the juice that everybody loves. All right, before we go, I am curious about all of these names that are surrounding Jaxson Dart on the offensive side of the ball. It was like we always thought it was going to be Todd Monken. He ends up getting the job in Cleveland. So now what do we have? I mean, list them to me. We have Brian Callahan.
Brian Callahan, Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator. We've got Greg Roman.
Yeah, we got names.
There's quite a few more that I still need to dive into. It's been such a busy offseason.
Are they going to change anything with the way Jaxson plays, do you think? You know, obviously staying on the field, your best ability is availability. God, I'm at the combine, and the quotes that the coaches say just fall right out of your mouth, don't they? Is that something you're going to keep an eye on come like camp and when you're kind of diving into the season?
What's the next level that Jaxson Dart can be? I think towards the end of the season, it was starting to finally click that, the availability, and that never, not to say that it wasn't, he knows that, but it's just marrying the style of player that he is with the ability to stay on the field and, be out there for his teammates, and that responsibility that comes with being the franchise quarterback. I think it was starting towards the end of the year to finally kind of sink. So I'm curious what that evolution looks like. And that goes with the pieces when we talk about, the offensive weapons. Can we get Malik back? Because we really didn't get to see that with Jaxson Dart, which is such a bummer to see that connection and not getting to know what that looks like. We obviously saw him in Scat. So these fun young guys and just what these other coaches who've been experienced and been around can bring.
Yeah, I kind of look at it and go, man, we were really excited to watch Jaxson Dart play, and he was playing like without Malik Neighbors. I think all of us were like, look at him go, and we're like, wow, he did it all without his number one wide receiver. Like, I'm excited to see all of it come together. Charlotte, you're the best. Thank you so much for stopping by. And by the way, shameless plug about The Athletic here. You are leaving the combine right now, right?
I am.
What are you going to do for The Athletic coming up that everybody's going to be able to read?
I'm very excited. I'm going to Italy. I am hopping on a plane on Monday to help cover the Paralympics.
Let's go.
So I am pizza pasta Paralympics is the goal with my colleague Liam Tharm. So we'll both be over there. We've had wonderful coverage on the Olympic side at The Athletic. The team crushed it. And hopefully Liam and I can do just a little bit of that and really bring some good stuff.
No, you certainly will. Everybody read that. If you love the Olympics, you're right. They were already off on the right foot with that happening in the Olympics, and now Paralympics moving forward with Charlotte. All right. Very jealous you get to go to Italy.
I'm excited. I can't wait. Sorry. A little bit of FOMO leaving early, but, Italy. So
well,
Italy's
guess
calling.
what? I'll be at Prime 47 tonight. Mac, who's coming up on the show? Oh, James Boyd coming up on the show. Talking a little Indianapolis Colts. We're right in his backyard. The only guy not staying in a hotel this week at the Combine, James Boyd, sleeping in his own bed. Okay, he's going to join us next. All right, Scoop City, James Palmer back with you. James Boyd joins me. And we just saw Mike Vrabel walk by. Give me a coach. We didn't prepare this. I just thought about it. Give me a coach in the NFL that needed to play 15 snaps on a Sunday. Is Vrabel your pick?
Most likely, yes. Because I'm trying to think of how many coaches. I don't know.
Like,
I feel like
could DeMeco Ryans give you a couple snaps?
He probably could.
Is still yoked.
I feel like Jim Harbaugh might just be crazy enough to get me the right penalty that I need to advance the ball.
Yeah. Well, Harbaugh's still at the gym at 4 a.m. benching Lord knows what. I'm trying to think who else. Saleh still looks like he's pretty put together.
Yeah, he can handle some action.
I think he could.
In the AFC South, I'd probably go with. I didn't think about biting kneecaps.
Yeah, biting kneecaps.
Oh,
yeah. I used to watch all these years that I would be on the sidelines for hours and hours before games, reporting, and then Vrabes would come out there when he was with Nashville, and he just started hitting with players. They're in pads, he's not, and he's just hitting with them in the end zone. You're like, this guy could still, mix it up a little bit.
Okay. For a second there, you could have chose Phillip Rivers. He got an interview.
Oh, you got an interview. Phillip Rivers, but you need somebody to go out there and sling it a little bit. Could be Phillip Rivers. You think Shane's not going out there and slinging it? I don't think.
Nah, Shane told me a story about him being a buck 50. I'm exaggerating, but at UNLV, so he ain't playing in the NFL.
No, he's not. He's still got a pretty good arm, though. I'll say that. You see him throw it around in practice. James covers the Colts brilliantly for us here. This is a home game for you at the Combine, so I won't ask you where you're staying like all the other idiots. But listen, speaking of the quarterback spot, a lot of eyes are on Daniel Jones. I think this is a situation that a lot of people believe is just going to get done. But at the same time, the injury complicated it, and obviously you're negotiating a quarterback contract. Where are the Colts and Daniel Jones right now in terms of this process?
So in speaking to Chris Ballard yesterday, and he says what all GMs say, we're having great talks, we're trying to get something done. Ideally, I don't want to use the franchise tag. But honestly, the question I've been asking myself, James, is who has the most leverage here? You would think it's the team because Daniel's coming off the injury and, he has a long injury history. But at the same time, they hitched their wagon to Daniel Jones when they gave up 2 first-round picks to get Sauce Gardner. Like, you don't have an off-ramp. You can't draft a young quarterback.
That's a great point.
And so I still think that even with the fractured fibula that's healing up, the torn Achilles that's healing up, Daniel Jones has a considerable amount of leverage to ask for a big contract and to get it. Now, the question is, okay, how many years do you put on it? How many guarantees are in it? That sort of thing. But he is going to get paid, and we'll see, again, how that pans out, which seems impossible. I mean, this time last year, we're like, can he just play in the NFL? And then now he's going to get a second, probably massive payday.
Yeah, and let's dive into that a little bit, because what's fascinating is there's 2 players on this team that have the ability to possibly get tagged, whether that's Alec Pierce at the wide receiver position or that's Daniel Jones if by March 3rd they don't get a contract done and they end up tagging him. We oftentimes know that the tag is done, so you can continue to negotiate until July 15th. That's why the tag is used most instances, right, James?
Yes.
So you and I, before the show, were kind of talking about this, going, well, I think if things are going well, like Chris Ballard said, between Daniel Jones's camp and the Colts, that maybe you don't need to use the tag, keep the star receiver and tag Alec Pierce. We'll just keep negotiating. But then I started thinking, Daniel Jones's camp will go, whoa. If you don't tag us, the floor is $47 a year, because that's the tag.
Exactly.
Right? So if you don't tag him and you get past March 3rd and the deal's not done, I would assume Daniel Jones' group is going, the floor is 47, and you mentioned, wouldn't somebody else be interested when you mentioned everything that's with the injuries? This free agent quarterback class, he would be right at the top of it if he was technically fully available to pick his landing spot.
Yeah, I was just checking out Daniel Popper's top 150 free agents.
It's outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, gosh, he watched so much film, and I was thinking, you're putting descriptions in here that I haven't used for Daniel Jones. But I believe he's number 5 on the list, and part of it is the market you're in. There, like you said, not a lot of great quarterbacks. I mean, most of them aren't that great in free agency just because they don't reach free agency if 100%. They are good. But with Daniel, I wonder, is there potentially some interest from a team like Minnesota? They're struggling with J.J. McCarthy. There isn't a clear answer there. Would the Steelers be, a team that considers
if Aaron
him?
Rodgers ends up retiring?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so, in my opinion, it comes down to, again, leverage. And even if you don't necessarily have, like, full-blown, gung-ho, we're going to sign this guy interest, just having just the fear of it, I think, helps him a ton in these negotiations. And like I said, the Colts do not have a viable plan B. The only other quarterbacks they have on their roster currently was 2025 6th-round pick Riley Leonard. Good player, but they signed Phillip Rivers off of his couch to play over him last year. And then Anthony Richardson, 2023, number 4 pick, but he still can't see fully at the moment.
Will he... And I thought this was so interesting when Chris Ballard said this to you guys at the podium, that he is still not... did you ask the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And so, like, will he... I hate to say it. Will he ever regain full vision? Is this a career situation that Anthony Richardson is in?
That is the question that I have been asking behind the scenes, in front of the camera, anybody with any knowledge. And the answer you always get is they're optimistic that it will. And you can be hopeful and optimistic about a lot of things.
That's scary.
But there is no definitive answer. And honestly, James, it is scary. Looking at Anthony up close, and credit to him because I think he handled a very unique situation as best as he could from a character standpoint, because when the injury happened, it's like, this guy is like made of glass. What happened? And it was a freak accident. He had an accident in the locker room that involved a stretching band. Long story short, he attached a band to a rod in the locker room, was trying to stretch, the rod broke, hit him in the face. Like that, it's like getting hit with a fastball. And then if you look at his actual face, there's a scar underneath his right eye where, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, are you just fortunate to have an eye?
Yes.
And considering that he's at team facilities at the stadium when this happens, and they still took him on a stretcher to the hospital because they're that afraid to kind of help him out. So he's made a lot of progress, but yeah, that is the concern. And when he spoke to us at the end of the season, the one detail that he revealed himself was that at the time, now it could have changed since then, he said it was his 1 foot box.
Okay.
Like, so you can see far, it's like the peripheral vision and maybe looking down and like just kind of around him in like the short area spaces more so than down the field. So again, you need all of your vision, I would think, to be a good NFL quarterback, or especially for him to revive your career as a quarterback in the NFL.
God. Because if this eye wasn't going on, I would think somebody would be in the market to trade for Anthony Richardson right
absolutely.
now, right?
Yeah, and that to me is the biggest barrier between perhaps him staying here or moving on? Because to be honest with you, I don't see a clear path forward for him in Indianapolis. And honestly, he may not want that. He may want a fresh start, but for a team to take a gamble on you, to trade for you, and you have a almost $11 million cap hit next year, we need to know that you can at least see. The injuries are one thing, but this is such a unique injury.
Yes.
I think factors in more than, again, just taking a flyer on a guy for a 6th-round pick or something like that.
Unbelievable situation. I remember you being all over that story when it happened. It was just so unique and just, honestly, it's an awful story, to be completely honest. Speaking of the offensive side of the ball, we mentioned Alec Pierce. Do you think he remains in Indianapolis? What I was talking to people here, we're talking to the different general managers and personnel people, and I was like, what do you think's going to happen? And it was Monday night we were out, and what do you think's going to happen to Alec Pierce? And an executive goes, remember Christian Kirk's contract with the Jaguars, where we were all like, he got what? He's like, I think that's going to be Alec Pierce if he hits full-on free agency and doesn't go immediately back to Indianapolis. Do you think he's back in Indy? And what's the future of Michael Pittman as well? Because that cap number is something. Yeah,
that is, to me, kind of like a twofold question because they might tie together.
That's a good host
if you
right
want
there.
To
Twofold
pay,
question.
Perfect. I love it, man. Yeah. If you want to pay Alec Pierce and you need money, the easiest way to get it will probably be to release Michael Pittman Jr. His cap hit next year is $29 million. If they release him, they create $24 million in cap space, only $5 million in dead money. And so he was very honest at the end of the season. I love Pitt because from a media standpoint, he keeps it real. Season ends in Houston, and he's like, yeah, if I played my last game as a Colt, I loved it here. Like, he is not naive or, too egotistical to acknowledge that, I'm not getting that number if I come back here. So perhaps they restructure. But with Alec, who is obviously the big fish when it comes to the wide receiver market, I think that he will ultimately stay here. I do think that they should probably use the tag on him over Daniel Jones. But the question I have is he a true number one receiver? He had a great year last year. For the second straight year, led the league in yards per reception, but he's got 1,000-yard career receiving season in his career. They had about 6 touchdowns last year. And can you be the guy week in and week out if Pittman isn't part of the equation? Because Pittman is still a good player. Had a down year last year, but he still draws attention away from you. So that's the question I have, but he's in a great spot. Had a career year in your contract year, and you're going into free agency knowing that this free agency class, like quarterbacks, usually the great ones don't reach free agency. So you're there. You're going to get overpaid. And as I always say, I would love to be overpaid instead of underappreciated.
Listen, I told you we're full of the lingo here at the Combine. That tag for the wide receiver, by the way, is $28 million, I believe. I think it's right around like the Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins average per year, I think is where you're at. Just right off the top of the head, no big deal. You also have Tyler Warren, though, that's part of the equation of bringing some attention. I think even in year 2, that's going to even skyrocket, I think, in what he brings to Shane Steichen's offense. All right, before we go, I am interested because everybody was so, a lot of eyeballs were on the way the season ended in Indianapolis and going, our job's going to be lost, whether it's Chris Ballard or Shane Steichen. Ended up, both of them, after Carly evaluated everything, they're both back. Now that some time has passed, has the perception of the finish and the collapse, I guess, is it viewed the same or differently, you think, as opposed to right at the end of the season?
From the team or from the city? Because the city is like, dude, we lose every year in December and January. We don't win big games. And then the team is kind of like...
Yeah, the city doesn't make decisions on people's jobs.
So they're still mad.
So what do they
just
think?
to clear that up, they're always mad about Chris Ballard still being here, and they feel like he's Teflon Don.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual team, James, they believe that first 10-game stretch, when Daniel Jones was healthy and they were 8-2 atop the AFC, that is what they really are and what they could be moving forward. But my thing is when you're evaluating Chris Ballard in particular, this is his 10th season. So when you look at his 10th season, in his first 9, you got no AFC South titles, only 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff victory, and that was in 2020. With the former, I guess, younger Phillip Rivers, and then he came back. But nevertheless, I think a lot of that has to do with, okay, have you even earned the grace to get another chance? They've given it to him regardless, and now it's a matter of, for the first time in his career, Chris Ballard's going into the final year of his contract. I did ask Carly Ursay-Gordon, would you extend him? I mean, most GMs do not get to the last year, and she told me to basically ask that question again next year. And I'm like, okay, well, will he be here? So that sounds like that's more pressure than before. But at the same time, you have to be able to deliver. And, Chris is cool. He's great with the media and tells us, pressure's the same. But I think this city and really this team, quite frankly, is tired of being mediocre. But my question is, how close do you think you are? Because you're banking, essentially, we could talk about all the other things, franchise tag, whatever. You're banking your future and your upcoming season on a quarterback coming back from an Achilles injury, who has only made it through one full season in the first 7 years of his career. So that, to me, doesn't give me a lot of hope, but that is their plan, and we'll see if they're able to build on it.
Man, you're right. And we've seen a couple of quarterbacks come back from Achilles lately, and that time oftentimes needs to
It's
happen,
usually the second year after the surgery and everything like that, but they don't have time to kind of figure that out.
A lot to look and study for Indianapolis this offseason.
Always.
And, oh, man. And I was going to ask you about some draft questions, but they don't have any picks.
Hey, two of their next first-round picks were in the trade for Sauce Gardner, so I'll be chilling on day one of the draft.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe we can hang out on Scoop City. We'll see. You never know what could happen. Chris Ballard could make a move. All right, James Boyd, outstanding. Appreciate it. Thank you. Everything Colts, always go to James right here on The Athletic. Also, Charlotte Carroll joined us talking Giants. Dianna Russini, the GOAT of the Combine. Self-proclaimed, by the way. I just want to say that. That was her name that she gave herself, not mine. Outstanding episode of Scoop City. We'll have another one for you tomorrow from the Combine. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.